Hey guys, Tony here. So I did want to do a quick TA on Nike and why I think it's actually going to go all the way back down to roughly maybe 135 or so. There's an extremely huge gap on the daily. If some of you guys haven't seen, there's a really big gap right here at 134. Well, even better, it actually did the full, it did the full breakout strategy. So we can remove all this. It was actually one of the first breakout strategies I did on the channel. But we'll switch to the weekly, and again, we don't really need too much support because price is down here, so we don't need to make a bunch of different support zones, right? On the weekly, we have support right here, and then let me actually just give us that full gap, because that is a huge gap on Nike right here, and it looks like it is going to be closing that sometime soon. So just to kind of have a reminder of where it's going. Let me see where our supports are. Support and resistance. Again, you guys know that I add my support depending on where the wicks touch the most. So we have support right there. Possibly have another weekly support right here. More down here. We have more support here. I think a little bit higher. Right there. And then finally we do have major support down here, and then again on a little bit on the higher side, like right there. So not too much support. Nike definitely traded a lot between these levels, and if anything, this one is a little bit too high. I'll take this one off. I don't think we need this high support here. Whoops. Yeah, then that's too much of a high support. I think we'll add it right there, just to have some nice daily support. So generally, the good thing, well, not the good thing, but really the bad thing about Nike is that, it is looking like it wants to go, towards the downside. First of all, the monthly is already looking like it's going to be bearish. Again, plenty of time on the monthly. So, we just want to see overall trend. Right now, the trend on the weekly has been, bear momentum ever since August 9th. So roughly the first week of August, right? It's had roughly bear momentum ever since that bear candle got created up here. And then just a straight shot down, right? The only thing that I can see Nike doing right now is it breaking, if it does break 157.39 and starts creating candles under there, there's a really strong chance that it's going to run or drop all the way down to fill that gap that it created back on June 25th. So it created a gap a long time ago, and roughly this gap definitely looks like it's a really big one. Let me see what the percentage of the gap is actually. So percentage of the gap is, it's it's over a 10% gap, right? So this one we can definitely expect to get it for this to be filled. But even right now, you can see like the daily gap right here. It actually just got filled right now, today. But overall, Nike does look like it's trailing down, especially on the weekly. I might actually have Nike might actually bounce from here, since this is pretty okay support on the weekly. You might actually have Nike bounce from this level a little bit to the high side. So you might see a bounce or trade sideways here before an actual drop, and then you have major support at 146. But the two scenarios that I can see for Nike playing out is either you have another trying to get this to go away. So you can actually break to the low side. If you actually break to the low side, you can do something like this, maybe retest, and then possibly go all the way down, or maybe you just trade sideways for a while and then go all the way down like this. But I think for the most part, I think Nike is coming back to fill that gap, because again, it is a massive 10% gap that needs to get filled. But keep in mind, it does have to trade under or close a full candle under that 157.36 level. So keep in mind that while this gap needs to be closed or needs to get filled eventually, it does need to actually break support, go lower, and then keep breaking these three supports that are within this gap, right? Because it does have support right here from the weekly. So you might have it actually come back down here, maybe trade sideways for a while or whatever. But I think ultimately, depending on where the full market sentiment is, I think Nike will eventually fill that gap, especially because the daily just crossed bearish, the weekly just created a brand new. It looks like it's still moving to the downside. So I think for the most part, I think Nike is on the way to actually close that gap. But keep in mind that you have really good support at 157, and again you have three really big weekly supports inside of that gap. And if it does end up closing here at 135, there's even a bigger chance that it drops all the way down to previous support of 130 before actually bouncing back up and starting a brand new fresh bull cycle. So I'll see you guys later. I think for the most part, Nike isn't, like I said, to just kind of small overview, I do think that Nike is heading down. Everything on the chart looks bearish. Can't really see anything that's good on Nike right now. The only thing that it really needs to break is that 157 support. After that gets broken, I think we're going to 146 and possibly filling at least the top part of that gap before you really see any sort of more momentum to the downside. So I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.